Alright, so this particular video is going to be about the separate tracks that come in on the weekend video, and more specifically about how you're going to patch those in Dante and how you're going to patch those onto the board. So going through them one by one, again, this is probably stuff that you already have knowledge of, but this is just touching on this to make sure you have a full understanding of what's going on, all the way down to the patching and routing and everything. So should something mess up, again, you have an idea of where to go to fix it. So there's 6 tracks, 6 channels that are sent to you every weekend, and that is 1 and 2 are the mix left and right. So that's the whole video, the whole sound for the entire video, mix left and right. Channel 3 is the cues. Channel 4 is the click. Channel 5 is isolated vocals for pastor or the speaker. Channel 6 is Spanish translation. So going through these piece by piece. Left and right stereo the message, so channel 1 and 2, and also super pan. You're going to want to make sure that you have this pan stereo actually on the board. That's just a quick thing to get out of the way. You're going to want to make sure that this is pan left and right, because especially when it comes to the super band, I think I mentioned this in the panning video, but especially when it comes to the super band, if you have that pan left and right, that sound is going to be way more full. It's going to feel way more, because like we said in the mixing videos, we're going for a feeling, we're going for an atmosphere, so that's going to be way more of a feeling. If it's pan left and right, it's going to sound much more broad, much more present, if you will. So channel 1 and 2, it's important that you always know where those are going to, because that's your entire audio for the video, so don't lose that. For the cues include music director, producer, track cues, and programming director. So this is for for anything that you might need to know as far as when to come in the songs on the weekends, things like that. So again, important to know where all this stuff is actually at. Click in channel 4. All these are going to be routed to your separate channels that for whatever you're using, especially for your in-ears with the cues and clicks. So these are all going to be routed to those individual channels. So the most important thing that I wanted to talk about with this video was the isolated vocals for pastor. Before we do that, I want to touch on the Spanish channel as well. I don't know if any campuses actually use that, like during their weekend broadcast. I'm not sure if that's used. I know it's used for I think like TV and radio broadcasts. I know it's done that way, but I don't know if any of the campuses use it for their weekend experiences, but use that as needed. But going into the ISO vocals, so this is something I've been talking to Tim and Dan about. So I would recommend that people start using the isolated vocals for pastor, because I've been to a couple different campuses now, and something I've talked to people about is how dynamic he is in the way that he speaks. And often what that does, though, is it creates times where it's very loud, and then it creates other times where it's very quiet. And so you have issues controlling the dynamics, because you don't want to put too much compression or anything on that one video, because you have super band stuff still. You have other things going on in this video that you don't want to be affected the way that you want his voice to be affected. So instead of having to do that kind of stuff always on the fly and having to revert that at the end of the video when the band comes up or whatever, instead of always having to do that, I would really recommend using the isolated vocals for pastor. And using this will make it easier to take care of the dynamics of his voice. I wouldn't add any extra EQ. It's already been EQ'd at the recording level, and any more would risk the quality of it. But if you wanted to add some extra compression, in theory you can add as many compressors as you want to anything. I mean, that's not really wise, but you could. So if you wanted to throw on some extra compression to keep everything kind of in place, so you're not always pulling up his voice, pulling down his voice, you're not constantly messing with the dynamics throughout his message. And this may also solve some of the issues that I know some campuses have talked about. They've had issues with like clipping during the video, partially because of the speech, or they've had issues with it not being loud enough. So I know there's been some different volume kind of issues with the video. So using an isolated vocal channel for him would be way easier to control just his voice when it comes time for it. So that would be something I think would be good for the campuses to start doing. You don't have to, but I think it would be really helpful. If it's working perfectly as it is right now and you're not doing that, then you don't have to worry about it. I mean, you might want to try it out still, but you don't have to worry about it if it's working fine. But this is just maybe a possible solution to some things I've heard some people talk about. So yeah, I would definitely recommend going in and patching that into its own channel. Yeah, so that's basically just a quick run through of the different channels that you're getting, and you want to make sure you have those patched out correctly during the weekend, and also just know to go back and to look at how all these are being patched should you have any issues, should you have any problems with not getting the audio that you're supposed to be getting. Looking at Dante and Dante controllers for sure a good place to start. That'll probably be able to show you wherever the issue is. So yeah, this is just a quick run through of those things, and once again, I would really recommend to start using an isolated channel for his vocals. Don't have to, but I would highly recommend it.